Hello everybody, Septa here, and today I'm going to be platinuming Fallout 3, the first game in our new Fallout challenge. Basically, my goal is to platinum Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and Fallout 76 before we hit 550 subs. Now, just to give a little insight, I love the Fallout franchise, and I platinumed Fallout New Vegas, Fallout Shelter, and Fallout 4 for PS4 way back in 2024. So this series holds me a very special spot in my heart, so I wanted to get the Fallout 3 Platinum Trophy here today. Now, just a little kind of lore recap. Basically, Fallout takes place in a retro-futuristic post-apocalyptic wasteland where the bombs dropped in 2077. But to get into the Fallout 3 portion of the lore, we start out being born, where I give our baby a very popular name, which is of course Septa. And after this, I pick what my character looks like. But unfortunately, this is interrupted as our mom starts to have birth complications and actually ends up passing away before we skip 1 year in the future. And 1 year later, we are a baby, where we get to pick out our special stats. These basically are all of our attributes, and this is the build I ended up going for. Kind of just a regular dude build with high intelligence so that we can get the most skill points as possible. Now, after this portion of the beginning quest, we skip 9 years later to our 10th birthday party. And for our 10th birthday party, we actually are going to be getting our first trophy. We get thrown a kind of surprise birthday party, and just to let you know, we're in a vault, which is just a nuclear shelter. And every child on their 10th birthday gets a Pip-Boy, which is how we access our inventory and everything. And after receiving this Pip-Boy, we do get our first trophy and Vault 101 Citizenship Award for getting our getting our Pip-Boy. After our party, we skip another 6 years into the future, where we have to complete the GOAT test. Now, this test will determine what job we get in the vault. A very scary test, and the actual purpose of this test is just to pick out our skills and traits for our character. Skills is just how good we are at different stuff, and traits give us specific bonuses. And after completing the test, these were our final skills. And the GOAT Whisperer for taking the GOAT. I ended up tagging Small Guns, Science, and Repair, as Small Guns is just useful for general gun use, Science is used for hacking terminals to get different loot and get into buildings, and Lockpick is used to pick locks to also get various loot and different trophies, because we need to hack terminals and pick locks for future trophies. Now, we do our last time skip of 3 years later, where our childhood best friend Amada wakes us up as our father has left the vault. Now, this isn't something that normal vault dwellers are allowed to do at all, so this causes a huge panic in the vault, and our dad's friend Jonas actually gets killed as he also tried to escape the vault. After fighting through some mutated roaches known as rad roaches, as well as a couple security guards that did not want us getting out, we end up getting out of the vault anyhow. And this is honestly a huge cinematic, so I just wanted to quickly say that I'm currently playing on the PS5 streamed version, but later on I do switch to the PS3 version, so you might notice like graphics not looking the best, as well as bugs, as I noticed it just ran so much worse on the PS5, like whatever it's called, stream. And we do also get a trophy for finally finishing the first quest in the game after making it out of the vault and into the wasteland, which pops here. Escape, for completing the quest Escape, I believe it's called, and just getting out of the vault. Soon after leaving the vault, I head over to the local town of Megaton, where I talk to the Sheriff Lucas Sims about the fact that there's a huge undetonated nuclear warhead in the middle of their town that they don't really seem to bother about. Now, it is like armed, so I end up taking the quest to actually disarm it, but we also find a man named Colin Moriarty, who tells us information about where our dad goes, and tells us that as long as we pay him 300 caps, he'll tell us where our dad is, and our dad is at the GNR radio, so that is where we have to head next for the main story. But before the main story, I picked up a bunch of side quests, this one from Lucy West to go deliver a note to her family. A lot of the trophies in this game are used from side quests, so I will be mentioning when I pick these up and when I complete them, as they give trophies. And next, I headed out to do the Wasteland Survival Guide. quest because this one also gives a trophy. Basically, I just did a bunch of exploring at the start to kind of ease my way into the Fallout 3 world and to like gain my bearings, I guess you could say. But after getting the info from Colin, that's where we're going to stop in the main story for a while, as I found going for side quests was way more effective in leveling up and gathering gear and stuff, and it just it fit my play style a bit more than just rushing the main story. But after getting about halfway through the Wasteland Survival Guide quest, I go to disarm the bomb, which is all we need to do to complete our next side quest. Now, just a warning, after every quest we do, we actually have to go and talk to the person again to turn in the quest, and with the quest completing, we get our first side quest trophy pop. The power of the atom. Whilst still grinding out various objectives for the Wasteland Survival Guide, I met a woman named Agatha. She wants us to go to a vault and find her violin. I'm not going to do this for a very long time, as this quest, in my experiences, is way easier at a higher level, but I did pick up the quest right here, so I figured I should mention it. Now, Moira, the lady that gives us the Wasteland Survival Guide quest, sends us to do various different things so that she can make a survival guide, as the name says, for just people to survive in the wasteland. This includes us doing various things like heading to the popular city of Rivet City and seeing how it started. This city I mentioned because it's like the main place you will do trading in the game. And then shortly after doing all these different objectives, there's like 10 different ones we have to do, we finally get the trophy pop. Now, one thing I will mention before the trophy pops is we get various perks for doing various objectives for the Wasteland Survival Guide, and these perks give us different boosts, like either upgrades to our sills or specific resistances. And here is that trophy pop. The Wasteland Survival Guide. This quest has taken so long, but we're finally done with it. After that quest, I decided to head over to Big Town. Big Town is an area filled with adults. They are actually the grown-ups that come from the place known as Little Lamplight, but they have a quest called Big Trouble in Big Town, where we have to go rescue some of their members from a gang of supermutants. Supermutants are just humans that are hit with the forced evolutionary virus and turn into these huge green creatures. We fight tons of them throughout the game, but here I wanted to mention the terminals that I mentioned we had to hack. These lead into a trophy where we have to hack 50 different ones, and we also have to pick a lock to get the lady out of the jail cell. Now, we also have to pick 50 different locks, but after grabbing the two people from the police station, which has the super mutants, we are able to then head back to Big Town and turn the quest in. I also ended up helping them afterwards with a super mutant attack, and here's that trophy pop. Big Trouble in Big Town. That quest honestly wasn't even that hard. I got another trophy right here for reaching level 8 with different karma levels. The first one I got was just my regular playthrough, which was for getting level 8 with good karma. Now I need to do this with neutral karma and bad karma at level 8, 14, 20, and 30. The first ones aren't too bad, as I just reach it with good karma and then cause a bunch of havoc to get neutral and bad karma after kind of save scumming. But here's the trophy pop for good karma. Protector, which is for reaching level 8 with good karma, and as I'm sure I said, I'm going to be also getting level 8 with bad karma and neutral karma for the other trophies. After this, I immediately go cause havoc in Megaton, where I swiftly get the levels from just killing various civilians. I don't know why I spent so long putting my levels in, as it really does not matter, as I'm just going to load a previous save anyways. But here's the trophy pop. Yes, Reaver for reaching level 8 evilly. And finally, the hardest of them in my opinion, which was neutral karma. I got this from clearing out Big Town, as there's quite a few less people here than Megaton, allowing for me to still kill everyone whilst getting less karma. Also using stealth boys to quickly get rid of, sorry, I almost forced myself to get a speech impediment. Using a stealth boy is the best way to get rid of the people that are coming after you so that you can quickly get the level up and the trophy, and here's the trophy pop. Yes, Mercenary for reaching level 8 with neutral karma. I'm not even gonna lie, these two trophies, evil and neutral, have taken me so freaking long. Whilst I was on the same save, I decided to go to Paradise Falls to get the Strictly Business trophy. This quest that we have to do, we have to enslave 3 people around the map. I obviously do not agree with slavery, so this mission was very like out of my character's like how my character would act. This is why I did this on an alternate save, but after completing this quest we do get a trophy, which is the only reason I did it, because otherwise there's kind of no bonuses to doing this. And here is that trophy pop. And Strictly Business. Now I am going to continue to be a good guy and reload our save, but there's that trophy. If you recall to back a couple minutes ago, we had to deliver a note to Lucy West's family, which is the quest I decided to do next. We had to head to the town of Erifu, where Evan King, the kind of protector of the town, had us go to all the residents' houses and check on them. However, when we got to the West house, they had all been killed, but their blood had been sucked out with no kind of like blood spilled or other wounds on them. And the people of Erifu suspect that the family are who to blame, and this is Vance, the leader of the family. They basically act like vampires and live underground in a metro station and suck the blood out of various different people and I believe animals as well. Now, we do resolve this situation peacefully, as in my opinion it's the best outcome to the whole situation. We have to talk to Ian West, Lucy West's little brother, who actually ended up killing his parents, and we convince him to go back to Erifu, and we convince Vance to protect Erifu in exchange for them giving him blood packs. This by far gives the best outcome of the quest. And after talking to Evan King, he also thinks that it's a really good deal, and this is how we get rewards from both sides, as well as a perk that lets us get more health from health packs. And here's the trophy pop. And blood ties. The next side quest that I decided to complete was those where we are, not confronted, sorry, when a little kid approaches us and tells us that the town of Grey Ditch has been overrun with fire-breathing ants. This actually is true, and we go to his house and find his father dead, where we then have to tell the little kid Brian that his father's dead. Now, we decide to go above and beyond and find the source of these ants, which is actually in the Marigold metro station underneath Grey Ditch, where we find a lonely scientist who was trying to make the ants smaller but ended up making them breathe fire. So we decide to help him by killing all of the guardians in the queen ant's nest. If you do not like bugs, I'd skip past this part, as they just look so freaking creepy. And honestly, this quest wasn't too bad, but very much a step up from the previous quest, as they do so much damage if you do not have the proper armor. But this quest gives us tons of benefits, so after turning the quest in back to Dr. Lesko, we can move on to the next part of the quest, which is finding a home for Brian. Basically, since Brian's family's dead, he has to find a new place to go. However, in the previously mentioned Rivet City, he has an aunt, so after convincing his aunt to take him, which she happily does, he can move into a safe and loving home inside of the safety of Rivet City. So after telling him that he now has a home, we complete the quest to get the trophy pop. This trophy honestly was a lot better than some future side quests we have coming up. Now, after this point, this is like when I decided to switch to the PS3 version, because honestly I knew it was going to run way better. So I got the Game of the Year edition, meaning I had all the DLCs. So they did load and increase my level cap to 30. So the first thing I decided to do was go into the Operation Anchorage DLC. This had us responding to a kind of radio signal left by the Brotherhood of Steel outcasts, so we help them to get through DC's ruins, and we make it to their bunker, where it turns out they have found a treasure vault that needs someone with a Pip-Boy, which we have, to basically complete this military combat VR simulation. And after completing the simulation, they have access to the treasure trove inside of the vault, which is where we come in. So basically the entire DLC takes place inside of a VR simulation, so we can get some crazy rewards after completing this DLC. After entering the chair, we come to in the frozen mountains of Alaska with Sergeant Benjamin Montgomery, who is kind of like our bro through all this. And our first quest is to destroy a bunch of artillery guns, but we do get a trophy before this for aiding the outcasts. This quest just consists of us starting the DLC, and there's nothing else much to it. And there are some unique rules to this DLC that I'll explain, but here's that trophy pop. Aiding the outcasts. So basically, guys, I'm not going to go too much into this DLC as it's honestly just a lot of combat shooting the Chinese. Now, they kind of eviscerate as soon as you kill them, so you have to grab gun drops from the ground as well as ammo drops and health drops. This is just how you heal and get ammo and various items. Now, another thing I'd like to mention is there are collectibles, which is the kind of intel. Now, for collecting all 10 of these, you do get a perk, so I recommend following a guide and doing this just like I did, because it does give a significant boost to your skills. So since I recommend doing this DLC first, this just starts you off way better in the game, and that's what the intel looks like. There's not a trophy tied to this, but I would still highly recommend grabbing all of the intel in your playthrough. Next, we actually get to the artillery guns. Basically, all you have to do is kill the Chinese near them and plant the explosive charge, and after waiting a little bit of time, they blow up. Be careful, though, because if you're too close, they will kill you. I'm not gonna lie, I had to replay this part like 5 different times because I would be too close to the explosion at various points. But there's just a bit more combat as we get all 3 of the artillery guns, but honestly not too much difficulty from this mission. And soon after the moment that you just saw, we take down the 3rd gun and need to report to General Chase. He's kind of the higher up boss, and we end up being teleported into his quarters shortly after. Next, I reported to General Chase, who informed us that we needed to do various objectives in the next mission to clear the way to assault the main Chinese compound, and we also completed the Guns of Anchorage for a trophy pop. The Guns of Anchorage. My only real concern is honestly that I'm worried that I'm going to hit level 14 while still in the DLC, and then I won't be able to get my 3 trophies because I don't know how I'm gonna get negative karma while in the DLC. This next mission was honestly one of the most unique in the game. Basically, we get to command our own squad and take these various objectives that we have to do around the map. This is just prepping stuff for the final raid on the Chinese compound, as I said, so that the army can go raid and liberate Anchorage. So the first one I decided to do is the abandoned mining town. Not too much to each of these different things. The only one that's really difficult is the last one. You pretty much just brute force your way through, kill a couple enemies, and then do your various objective at each one. There were also Chinese snipers that posed way more of a threat than the regular soldiers, and the stealth soldiers, which were even worse as they could go invisible. But I soon went to the kind of military camps on our way to the last location. This one was a tank depot, so we actually ended up having to kill one of their tanks. The tank wasn't too big of a worry, so I'm not going to specifically mention it. But our main goal was just to destroy the fuel tanks over here, which I did right here. And afterwards, we end up getting teleported out. I did not know this, but here we get teleported out. And we do complete the quest here, which gives us a trophy pop. Paving the way. Next, we were on the final mission of the DLC, where we got to go through this battlefield, and it was like a lot of trenches, so for some reason they're doing trench warfare, and this mission was by far the coolest, as I'm sure you can guess, as I'm fascinated by history, so going through a bunch of World War I like trenches and fighting Chinese was honestly so fun. And here we faced tons of enemies, but our main objective was to lower the electronic field so that the power armor troopers, who are like the metal armor dudes, could get through. Now, after we do this and make it to the Chinese compound, I actually gaslight the general into killing himself because I'm just that guy. And it's honestly not that hard. It's literally just one speech check and he kills himself. Like, seriously, it is just not difficult at all because he's supposed to be a super difficult boss fight, and you can just one speech check and he's dead, and I don't even have that high of speech. Now, after talking to General Chase, we are dismissed and the simulation ends, where we then wake up back in the Outcast bunker and open up the vault where we get the best armor in the game, the winterized power armor. Now, soon after this, and we get to loot all this, we do get a trophy pop. Operation Anchorage. Honestly, I enjoyed this DLC so much, and this loot we're getting on top of that, it makes it so worth it. There was honestly so much good loot here, but the highlight was still that power armor, as it like never breaks and is one of the best damage resistance armors in the entire game. The next quest I decided to do was Tenpenny Tower, where Roy Phillips, a ghoul, which is basically just an irradiated human, is trying to enter Tenpenny Tower and is rejected. The guard then hires us to kill the ghouls, but just to let you guys know, I was approaching level 14, which we had those 3 trophies for the karma, which is why I decided to do this quest and not go straight into the next DLC. But here we just actually take the peaceful route, as we can convince the ghouls to let us convince the people of Tenpenny Tower to let the ghouls live there, and then they will coincide peacefully. Now, this is a super good idea because you still get money, but after convincing this guy, the leader, Alistair Tenpenny, you also can get the ghoul mask, which when you wear it, all the feral ghouls, which are like zombies, will not attack you. And all we have to do is just convince a couple guests of Tenpenny Tower, and you literally just tell them to leave, and that's it. And then you can get all the ghouls to come back. And after talking to Alistair Tenpenny once again, we can finally complete the quest. Well, I guess we have to return again to Roy. And after just talking, we get the ghoul mask and we complete the quest. And, well, soon after, we do get the trophy pop for Tenpenny Tower. With my level up to level 13, I decided to get Here and Now, which just boosts you one more level so that I could easily get to level 14. And here's the trophy pop. Ambassador of Peace for level 14 with good karma. Now, I already previously went over how I get my karma down. I once again took over Megaton way easier this time, and I just stopped halfway through to get the neutral karma, and then I just killed absolutely everyone in the town for bad karma, and here are those trophies popping. Pinnacle of Survival for level 14 with neutral karma. Yes, Harbinger of War for reaching level 14 with evil karma. Next, we return to the main story for literally one mission. First, we have to head through the metro tunnels to get to downtown DC. I won't mention it again, but the metro tunnels is basically how you traverse through the downtown of DC throughout the entire game. But basically, as I said earlier, our objective is to get to GNR radio and make contact with 3 Dog, who knows something about our dad. First, we run into Sentinel Lions of the Brotherhood of Steel, and she and her crew are going to clear out the super mutant threat on the way to GNR, as they are all kind of working together. After we do make it to the entrance of GNR, we find our first super mutant behemoth. There's a trophy later for killing 5 of these things, and here's our first one. This is the only scripted event of seeing one, so the other 4 we will have to be using a guide, but that's one of the last trophies that we get, so I'm not going to mention it again. Also, this weapon I'm using kicks ass. It's called the Fat Man, and once you get it, I'd only recommend using it on hard enemies like the behemoths, as it's the only real valid use. But once we enter, we talk to 3 Dog, where he offers us information in exchange for fixing his radar dish so that his broadcasts can get further out of just downtown DC. But after talking to him, we do finish the quest and get the trophy pop for the first mission. Now, before we started our next DLC, I decided to go get various bobbleheads, because these bobbleheads would max out my skills. The way I figured out how to get the most skills maxed as possible was to get each skill to 90 and then find its respective bobblehead to boost it up to 100. We are going to need to collect all 20 bobbleheads, but for now I just get a couple to max out the main skills before entering the pit. Now back to the pit, as I mentioned, we find a dude who needs help getting back to the pit and freeing the slaves. But first we have to kind of save him from the pit raiders. And Werner will basically tell us that we need to get a slave's outfit and sneak into Pittsburgh, which is where the pit is. And his plan works as we find a hand cart that we take all the way from Washington, D.C. to Pittsburgh. Once arriving, we are quickly met with a bunch of raiders. The pit raiders are a lot like the Washington, D.C. raiders, as they're honestly just really easy cannon fodder to kill, and they don't pose too much of a challenge. However, there are other enemies in this DLC that are way harder. But I next cross the bridge to get to the main compound of Pittsburgh because we need to get captured and lose all of our stuff in order to sneak in, find the cure to the disease from all the machines and radiation, and to just complete the DLC. So we get our next mission and complete the introduction quest and get the trophy into the pit, which should pop here any second. Into the pit. Sorry, I'm like in my trophies menu. It was not popping, so I thought I like got my trophies to glitch. Our next mission requires us to grab 10 different steel ingots in the steel yard, but there is an optional trophy to collect all 100. There honestly aren't that difficult to get, except for these things known as the trogs. They are basically diseased and mutated humans that have gone crazy from the disease that's around the pit. And essentially, they're just kind of crazy and flesh hungry. But despite that threat of them and a raider gang, besides that, there's not too much in our way of getting all 100 steel ingots, as they present honestly crazy good rewards as well as a missable trophy. We turn these into Everett, who gives us rewards for every 10 we collect. And the next part of the quest is actually a cage fight, so we get tons of good rewards, from kind of like really good weapons to even power armor, which is, well, I guess our second set of power armor this game, but it honestly helps so much in the fight that comes up. And after talking to him and turning in all of those steel ingots, we do get the trophy pop. Mill worker for collecting all 100 ingots. Back to the cage fighting. Basically, we were volunteered into fighting against other raiders in order for a seat to talk to Asher, the leader of the Pitts Raiders. Basically, we were going to talk to him about freeing the slaves, getting the cure to the disease, and leaving ourselves. And first we have to prove ourselves. This is not difficult at all, as we do complete the quest and get a trophy pop soon after killing all of these raiders. And here's that trophy pop. Unsafe working conditions. Honestly, that arena fight was so fun, and I can't believe the DLC is already almost over. Our meeting with Asher doesn't go to plan, as we end up not really talking about much and mostly just killing him and all of his other like higher ups and people in the office. And after we decide to kill him, it's honestly not difficult at all. He's really easy to kill. With all of our weapons, of course. I mean, honestly, if you don't grab all 100 steel ingots, I don't know how you'd kill Asher or just complete the cage fights. So once again, this is kind of just me advocating for grabbing all 100 steel ingots, if I'm being completely honest. But after we do kill him, we find out that the cure to the disease is actually Asher's baby. So we have to kind of go on the other side of the moral line and kidnap the baby so that we can free the slaves and get the slaves the cure for the disease so that they don't all die or turn into trogs. We then meet up with Werner, where we give him the baby, and essentially his plan after this is, since the baby's safe and most of the slaves are gone, we will be releasing a bunch of trogs into the kind of raider area. Now, I do get a miscellaneous trophy for killing 300 different creatures called Slayer of Beasts. Since the trogs count as creatures and there's a ton of them in this DLC, I get this trophy relatively fast in the playthrough, and I do get it very shortly after here. And honestly, there's no real tips to this. It's just a grind trophy, and here's the pop. After releasing the trogs and killing all the remaining raiders, the slaves are officially free, and we get a trophy pop. Free labor for completing the Pit DLC. Back in the Capital Wasteland, I decided to head over to Canterbury Commons and solve the Superhuman Gambit quest. Basically, the Mechanist and the Antagonizer are fighting. Just to kind of sum things up, the Mechanist, you can just do a speech check and he'll back down, but the Antagonizer, you actually have to kill. Not a very difficult fight, but you do have to kill her and talk him down before turning in the quest to Uncle Ro. Seriously, not a very difficult quest at all, and I think in real time it took me all of 5 minutes to complete, but we do get the trophy pop here shortly. The Superhuman Gambit. Next, I continued the previously mentioned Agatha's Violin quest, where we head to Vault 92, a vault filled with X-like musicians, and we fight through our vault to where we eventually pick our 50th lock.
These are for cowards.
After that miscellaneous trophy, we find the violin and swiftly head back to the surface. Afterwards, we return to Agatha and talk to her. We don't get very much of a reward, but it's an old lady, so it's okay. And with this, we get the trophy pop.
Agatha's Song.
The next side quest I do is with Dr. Zimmer. It's known as the Replicated Man. Basically, Dr. Zimmer is from a place called the Institute in the Commonwealth, where a missing android kind of, well, escapes, and we need to find him throughout the Capital Wasteland. Just a spoiler, he is in Rivet City, and all we really have to do to progress this quest is just grab various holotapes full of information off of different people. And after finding this out, it leads us all to Pinkerton, who is kind of an outcast on the front of the ship. There's a certain name for it, but I'm going to be honest, I forgot it. And after convincing him to give us the information, he gives us all the proof we need that the android is actually Harkness, the Rivet City like main security dude. I end up going and talking to him and basically just telling him he's an android and that his secret's safe with us for the optimal quest rewards, as his laser rifle is like one of the best weapons in the game. And here we also do shortly get the trophy pop.
The Replicated Man.
The next side quest I start is also in Rivet City, being Stealing Independence. We talk to Abraham Washington, one of the most American men to exist, and he tells us to head out and search for the Declaration of Independence. We had to clear various super mutants where it's located, as well as robots once we get to the underground portion, and honestly it's not too difficult until we reach Button Gwinnett. Now, we can easily hit some intelligence checks and speech checks to get through this, but during this part, I did get too far through level 19 to hit level 20, so I had to go take a break to get the negative and neutral karma trophies. I did this, well, the neutral karma from stealing from people in Rivet City, and now that my good karma was getting so high, I had to steal as well as kill even more people in Rivet City in order to get the trophies. This was honestly much more annoying, but good thing after this I only had to do it one more time. And after hitting level 20 with Evil Karma, we get this trophy pop.
Scourge of Humanity for level 20 with Evil Karma.
And not very long after that, and after reverting a save, we do get to neutral karma. Now for level 30, our final one, there is a different method, but I will mention that later. And here's the trophy pop.
Paradigm of Humanity for reaching level 20 with neutral karma.
And now that we had those two trophies out of the way, we could finally turn in the Declaration of Independence, completing this quest and getting the trophy, as well as the level 20 with good karma trophy.
Stealing Independence for completing Stealing Independence. And we are about to get another trophy. And Loki, I don't even know what to sink my points into anymore. But here's a little tip. For a trophy where we have to explore 100 locations, pick up the Explorer perk, and momentarily we should get another trophy. The last best hope of humanity for reaching level 20 with good karma.
Next, I headed to the underground, which was the kind of ghoul safe zone of Fallout 3. Now, we talked to Mr. Crowley, a not-so-good dude, who basically states that there are 4 different bigots around the Capital Wasteland, being Dukov, this one dude in Rivet City, Alistair Tenpenny, and Dave. It turns out that they're not bigots, and he just wants us to kill them so that he can get their keys for a kind of bigger plot point. But the only one I'm really going to talk about is Dave, because he's sick and there's a bobblehead in his country. But all I just wanted to mention about this quest is you can get power armor if you get all the keys and then head to Fort Constantine. I didn't do this as I already had better power armor than what it offered me. But nevertheless, I turned in the quest to him so that I could get the trophy.
You gotta shoot him in the head.
The next quest I did was also in the underground, being Riley's Rangers. Basically, Riley is an injured mercenary, and her group of rangers kind of are on top of a rooftop in downtown DC. So our next task is to head through the metro tunnels, which also grants us a miscellaneous trophy of killing 300 people. This isn't related, I just got it from killing the raiders on our way to do this quest. And here's the trophy pop.
Doesn't play well for others for killing 300 people.
And after that, we head to the hotel that they are trapped on, and it's filled with super mutants because DC is just absolutely crawling with super mutants. And after reaching the roof, we meet up with the Rangers, where we have to then fight our way off of the roof and fight our way through the hotel to get the elevator operational so that we can go. Afterwards, we go to the Rangers compound, after saving them, of course. I guess I probably should have mentioned that. And we get the option of a bunch of different rewards. I ended up taking the minigun as it was more my playstyle. And here's the trophy pop.
Riley's Rangers.
Now, the next thing that I wanted to do, like the next major thing I wanted to do, was start the Point Lookout DLC. But before this, I decided to collect some more bobbleheads to max out some more skills yet again. I decided to go to Fort Constantine, but not the deep part of the vault, just the part of the vault that had the bobblehead, because it granted us a trophy for grabbing 10 out of the 20 bobbleheads. And here's that trophy pop.
And yes, I do play with dolls for getting 10 bobbleheads. Now, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to kind of look through the actual area of Fort Constantine. But if I do end up doing that, then after that we're moving to Point Lookout, because we do have half of the bobbleheads already done.
After reaching the boat that will take us to Point Lookout, we talk to Catherine, where she asks us to find her daughter, who is lost inside of Point Lookout. This is kind of the main reason that we actually go out here. And then after this, we meet Tobar the ferryman, who is the dude that runs the boat that takes us out to Point Lookout. I don't like him very much because you have to pay for ferry tickets, and ferry tickets are honestly quite expensive. Now, on our way, we do get another trophy for discovering 100 locations, but I just wanted to mention these freaky-ass dudes that are all over this DLC. These are honestly the, creepiest or most gross creatures I've ever seen in a Fallout game, but here's that trophy I previously mentioned.
One-man scouting party for discovering 100 locations.
After fighting through that, we made it to the mansion. Basically, the whole reason, or our whole thing we were doing in Point Lookout, was going to the mansion because Tobar pointed it out and basically said that since there was smoke coming from it, it might have loot. But it turns out that a man named Desmond was being attacked by a bunch of tribals, so we set out to help him. After the long task of clearing out all of the tribals was completed, he enlisted us to help stop the tribe and kill his enemy. Basically, the tribe, well, we had to infiltrate them next by heading to their church where they were based out of. Now, this also concludes the first quest of the DLC, which grants us the trophy, the local flavor.
The local flavor.
Later, we arrive at their church and are told that we have to complete a ritual in order to get into their cult and be able to get answers from them. Now, during this, we had to go all the way across the DLC, so I figured it would be as good as time as ever to discover all the locations for the miscellaneous trophy in the DLC. Now, I did not end up getting this on camera as I stopped recording for some reason, but I did get this trophy right here. After nabbing that trophy, it was finally time to start the ritual. We had to head to the bog and take this giant plant to initiate the ritual. This honestly just made us trip balls, as I'm sure you can guess, because it's a random swamp plant. We even had to grab giant bobbleheads, so this overall was just a huge trip and I loved it. But after completing it, we returned to the tribals and they let us become a member at once. And just to say, like, our brain gets removed during this ritual and all this crazy stuff. But this completes a quest, and here's that trophy popping.
The material world is destroyed.
Walking with spirits.
We seek to release our mind.
Next, we find Nadine, who's Catherine's daughter. She doesn't really want to go back, but she tells us that our brains got stolen and that most people actually become stupid after doing the ritual because they remove a part of their brain. And we end up finding the tribal leader's cave, and they actually worship a holographic brain. It's basically a dude that put his brain in a machine and was able to somehow connect to this one specific cave, and the leader of the tribe like worships this and takes all of his guidance from this dude. After this discovery, we go speak to Desmond, who actually tells us that his rival is the dude with the brain, and Desmond's an asshole, but I ended up siding with Desmond, so I went to the Ferris wheel and placed the cogwave jammer, which basically severed the brain's link. Also, we headed to the ferry boat to do this quickly, where Nadine tells us that she's going to be the ferryman, and we kill Tobar because that piece of shit stole our brain. And honestly, this was a huge revenge moment. I just enjoyed killing him. He was really easy to kill, and after killing him, we can actually grab the chunk of our brain that he took, and here's me grabbing that chunk of the brain. Super weird freaking detail to include in this DLC. Like, I don't know why that was needed, but we do get to carry around the chunk of our brain for the rest of the game. But back to the main story of Point Lookout. Us and Desmond head up to the lighthouse where the brain is held, and the lighthouse isn't filled with too many enemies, just robots and turrets, not too much that we can't handle. And once we make it through, we decide who to side with. I obviously decided to side with Desmond, and after talking to both of them, I decided to just kill him, which you do by shooting the brain. And with this, he's dead, and Desmond just wins their, like, pre-war rivalry, I guess. And after talking to him, we get a trophy for completing the DLC.
A meeting of the minds for beating Point Lookout. So we can finally go back home, and then I guess we're done with 3 out of the 5 DLCs. Back in the Capital Wasteland, we had to deal with yet another tribe, this being the Tree Minders. They basically worship a giant tree and made us once again do another ritual in order to gain access to, like, their headquarters and their secrets. Their secrets being the giant talking tree that they worship. Now, this isn't a tree, it's a dude named Harold. He's from Fallout 1 and 2, and basically he's a FEV mutant that also, like, got a tree in his head, and somehow it ended up growing super big, and he sat down right where he is right now, and he ended up just being stuck. Now, he tells us to kill him, which I do because no one deserves to have that fate, you know. So I head to the caves underneath Oasis, which is what the place is called, and I find Harold's heart. I quickly destroy it because we get a good perk from it, and it is the arguably morally correct thing to do as he's suffering and he wants to die. Afterwards, we talk to the leader of this cult, being Tree Father Birch, and he essentially tells us that he had a talk with Harold right before Harold died, and he realizes that he was wrong and Harold didn't want to be worshipped, and they completely misunderstood him entirely. And we do get the trophy pop right after this. Oasis for completing Oasis.
Our next side quest was Head of State, where we had to head to the Temple of the Union, where a bunch of escaped slaves were held up. They wanted us to clear out the Lincoln Memorial and restore it to its former glory for them to live there, as Lincoln's kind of their idol. So we head there, and ironically, there were a bunch of slavers held up here, but as I'm freaking OP and almost max level, these were literally just no threat to me whatsoever. So after clearing them out, another thing we had to do was grab a photo, or I guess a picture of the Lincoln Memorial, as they had like an architect that all he needed was a picture and he could rebuild the Lincoln Memorial. So here we grab this, and after returning to the Temple of the Union, we can turn in the fact that we cleared out the location as well as the photo into Hannibal, the dude that owns it, and then after meeting them, we get the trophy for completing the quest, Head of State.
Goddamn respect for now, huh?
Head of State. So, now we only have like 2 more side quests, but we're not going to do those right now. So the next thing I'm actually going to be doing is, what's it? I don't even know what it's called. Mothership Zeta DLC. Next, we started our second to last DLC, Mothership Zeta. This DLC started with us responding to a distress beacon, where we were then sucked up by a UFO and abducted into a huge ship. After coming to, we were in a cell with a lady named Soma, and we devised a plan to fake fight so that the aliens would like come to stop us and like beat us or knock us out or whatever. Basically, our hope was that the aliens would come break up the fight, and then we could kill the aliens and escape. This worked perfectly, as these aliens weren't shit, and even though my unarmed skill honestly wasn't that high, I ended up just absolutely crapping on these aliens. Now, this is the collectible of the DLC, which was the alien captive logs. All you gotta do is just grab them, and most of them are on the linear game path, but some of them are out of the ordinary, so I would pick up a guide when you do it. Soon we met Sally. We broke her out of her cell, and basically she's a little girl, so she snuck into a lot of small areas and was a key game mechanic for the DLC. But eventually we find a bunch of other prisoners who are cryogenically frozen and complete the first quest with a trophy pop.
Not of this world. We're completing Not of This World.
These fellow prisoners would end up becoming our allies throughout the ship. You can have them come with you, but I didn't want to risk them dying, so I didn't end up having them come with me. But our next task was a really long mission where we just had to destroy a bunch of generators. I'll mention how to destroy generators at a later part, but that is basically like all of the gameplay in the DLC. Kill aliens, have Sally get you out of sticky situations, and destroy generators. It's pretty much all you do. This DLC was really laggy at some points, and honestly wasn't the best in my opinion. The idea is really solid, but it wasn't that good overall. This part's my favorite. This is the spacewalk, where we put on a spacesuit and just walk on the outside of the ship. Our task is just to repair the teleporter so that we can get to the main like command part of the spaceship that we're on, aka Mothership Zeta. And once we get here, we can actually complete the quest Among the Stars, our second quest, which grants us a trophy pop.
Among the Stars. That mission, or like that trophy, the whole spacewalk portion was actually so cool. Like, I love space, so that was freaking sick for me.
With this, our next task is to shut down the alien death ray, which we're doing here, and this is kind of just footage of me destroying the generator. It's really not difficult at all, and you have to do this so many times that I'm not going to mention it again. But after doing this and destroying their death ray, we are tasked with heading to the command center. Overall, this DLC isn't too hard. As I said, just a bit laggy on the PS3. And soon, though, we do get our missable trophy for this this DLC, which is to grab all of the prisoner logs. Not too difficult, just a collectible that takes the majority of the run. And here's our last one here. And soon after, we get the trophy pop.
Trophy, please, trophy. Deadass, please. Yes, Alien Archivist, for grabbing all of the survivor logs in Mothership Zeta.
Next, we get to the finale of the DLC, where we go to raid the command center of the ship, and This isn't too hard. I mean, with all of our weapons, the aliens aren't hard to kill at all. But eventually a rival ship, I guess, I don't really know why, but a rival ship comes and we end up having to kill them. Basically, they're trying to just shoot us out of the sky. I don't know if they could tell that we took over the ship or what, but basically the ship was just trying to kill us, so we had to press a bunch of random buttons to shoot the death ray, which is now working again for some reason at the ship. As I said, this DLC is good in practice, but it's just weird, I guess. Eventually, we destroy the ship for a huge cinematic explosion. This is the completion of the DLC. And we do get a trophy for this, but honestly, what a cinematic explosion.
Galaxy ain't big enough, and I'm currently being shot, but that is Mothership Zeta completed, so we just have one more DLC, but we can't do that DLC until we beat the main story.
With this, we are back to the main story, grabbing that radar dish for 3 as I mentioned like way long ago. We grab the disc from the Museum of Technology, and our next task is to then put it at the top of the Washington Monument so that his signal can be reached at other parts of the map other than downtown DC. Really not a difficult quest at all, especially for us at our strength, but just to let you guys know, this will be where we lock in on the main story, besides a couple detours for the rest of the game. Now, with this, we return to 3, turn in the quest, and find out that our dear old dad has headed to Rivet City, which is where we need to go for our next clue.
Galaxy News Radio, for completing Galaxy News Radio.
With that, we head to Rivet City to the science wing and talk to Dr. Lee. She basically worked on Project Purity with our father. Project Purity is just a project that uses the Jefferson Memorial to get clean water to everyone. It's never worked, but our father, or James, heads to Project Purity himself to work on it, and we end up finding the place overrun with super mutants. However, we find some logs that state he needed a GEC for it to work, and he thought that Dr. Braun in Vault 112 would know where this GEC is, so he basically just headed to Vault 112 to find this GEC. So we soon make it over there and find out that things aren't at all as we suspected. Basically, there is a huge simulation run by Dr. Braun. He wanted to see what would happen if he hooked up a bunch of people to memory loungers, which were like the things we use in Operation Anchorage, except they kept you in there for a really long time, so that he could basically just play God in the simulation. But we entered the simulation, and it's basically a 1950s like utopia, and we get a trophy here for the previous mission.
Scientific pursuits, for completing scientific pursuits.
There are 2 ways that I know of that you can complete this quest. The first one is to listen to Betty or Dr. Braun and complete the various things he has you do. But I'm a Platinum Trophy YouTuber, so I was trying to get this done as soon as possible. So I did the more sneaky way, where you go into the abandoned house and figure out the order that you have to activate these items. And it allows you to activate the Chinese invasion failsafe, which sounds funny, but it literally just spawns a bunch of Chinese soldiers to come and slime out everyone here, which does kill them in real life, but frees them from dying over and over and suffering in this simulation. By far, though, this is the fastest way to get out of this mission. Afterwards, we meet up with Dad, where he sends us to go back to Project Purity to help him get things up and running, and we get the trophy pop for this mission.
Tranquility Lane.
Once at the Jefferson Memorial, we had to do various tasks around the building to get Project Purity up and running for Dad, but eventually we get locked inside of the kind of drainage tunnels where a bunch of helicopter-like vehicles known as vertibirds descend on the building. Out of them comes a bunch of power-armored soldiers, which is the Enclave. They are basically the remnants of the United States military and their kids, and Colonel Autumn ends up pressuring our dad to activate Project Purity. He activates like a bomb thing, I don't really know, but it releases a ton of radiation that kills him and all of the Enclave officers in there. So just as fast as we got our dad back, literally the mission before this, he then passes away. We also have to bring all of the kind of scientists through escape tunnels to the Pentagon, also known as the Citadel. After making it here, we do complete the quest and get the trophy.
The Waters of Life. I honestly can't believe that Dad died after all that work of getting him back. I can't believe he's freaking dead.
They've taken over
With
the
the
purifier.
scientists being in
Lions, they
the
cannot be
Citadel,
permitted to have
we meet
control
the
over
Brotherhood
it.
of
It's
Steel,
not
which
right.
is basically just a militaristic group focused on technology. Now here, our next quest is to go to Vault 87 to grab the Gek, which is the what we need to activate Project Purity.
That's not true.
But before this, I take a
James,
break on a
we found
previously
what's been
locked
missing.
side quest
We
being
know how
Trouble
to get
on
it
the
running.
Home Front.
Oh my
For
God,
this
you're
quest, we
back.
meet our childhood friend
got my
Amada
message
once
now.
again because there's a huge dispute
Thank
in the
you.
vault. This quest is very easily completed. Basically, all we have to do is convince Amada's father, the Overseer, to step down, and then after this, we literally just make Amada the Overseer. However, she does something honestly so fake, and she ends up banishing us from the vault. This was a direct, like, reference to Vault, or sorry, not Vault, to Fallout 1, where the main character, despite completing the objective he had to, is banished from the vault. This side quest isn't too hard, and if you did not grab the bobblehead in there at the start of the game,
Trouble
make sure to
on
do
the
that.
home front. I'm not gonna lie, I feel so betrayed that we frickin' took time out of our day to go help the vault and we still got banished. Also, that little like thing she says at the end is a direct reference to Fallout 1 when you get kicked out of the vault after bringing back the water chip, which I find pretty cool.
After this, we are back to the main story where we head towards Vault 87. We find out that it is like guarded, I guess, by Little Lamplight, a town run by kids. This is where the people from Big Town come from. Basically, Mayor McCready will not let us in unless we pass certain checks, or we help him by rescuing his slave friends from Paradise Falls. I had already cleared out Paradise Falls, so I literally just quickly freed the kids. This mission took all of 10 minutes, and after telling all the kids that they were free, we were able to just leave the location, and the trophy soon popped. And here is that trophy popping.
Rescue from Paradise. That trophy kind of took like a minute or two to pop. That kind of scared me. But my tip for that, as I'm sure I'll say in post, is just to like be careful with your dialogue. And yes, there was a speech check I could have taken, or I believe you can take the Child at Heart perk to get through. But by doing that quest, you do get a kind of like missable story trophy. So make sure that you get that quest and complete it for the platinum.
Still in Little Lamplight, before reaching Vault 87, there is actually a moment where you can scum a trophy. Basically, you need to do 50 speech checks, but you could just keep spamming it on the same little kid by having him tell jokes and then doing the speech check. I only had to do this a couple more times for the trophy, but I decided to just get the trophy out of the way here, and then here is the trophy popping.
Silver Tongue Devil for successfully doing the speech checks 50 times.
Afterwards, I pushed on to Vault 87, and shortly after entering the vault, we did complete our main story quest and get the trophy.
Picking up the trail. Honestly, I'm kind of, I'm really excited to continue into Vault 87. I just hate these vaults, though, because they're so hard to traverse, in my opinion, because they just get so confusing to me.
Now guys, I got 3 huge trophies inside of Vault 87. These were all of the level 30 trophies, as there are tons of high level super mutants in here for us to kill to get plenty of XP. The first one I got, of course, was for getting good karma, which I literally just completed level 30, but now I'm going to be talking about my strategy. Basically, you can get perks that either give you neutral karma or bad karma, and that's what I used to get the other trophies. But the perk I ended up actually doing is almost perfect, which gives you 9 in all stats. But here's that trophy pop.
Messiah for reaching level 30 with good karma. There's kind of another method that I will explain when the trophies pop for getting the neutral and bad karma, but there is that trophy.
Now, I am going to mention it as the trophy pops in live time, but all you do is either grab the Karmatic Rebalance or the Devil's Highwayman or whatever. I believe those were the perk names, and those lower your karma so that you can get the trophy. But here's the trophy pop.
Sorry guys, True Mortal for reaching level 30 with neutral karma. Once again, I'm sure I said it, but the method for this is quite literally just to grab the perk for either to make a save right before you level up like I did. I'm like in this save I'm loading right here. I'm like 100 XP away. I kill the super mutants, level up, and get the perk to either get neutral karma, positive karma, or negative karma. I had high karma, as you guys saw, so I just have to do this twice to get the other 2 trophies. Level 30 is the easiest out of all of them. Level 8 because this is the one that, you know, you can just hit this quick method. The other ones still weren't that bad, but it's nice to finally max out. Or just playing for fun, I recommend taking the almost perfect perk. I'll show that right here before we pop the trophy. Just because this perk makes all your stats go up to freaking 9. I'll show right here. So yeah, this is what I took on my main playthrough, but all special stats get raised to 9. And here's Devil's Highway, so I'll get back to you guys with the trophy pop. And there we go, Devil for reaching level 30 with negative karma. And officially all of our level up trophies are done.
After this, we meet a dude named Fox. He's a pretty big goat because since he's a super mutant and they're immune to radiation, he can go get the Gek because the Gek is in a very highly irradiated part of the vault. So we let him out of containment, be careful not to execute him, and he goes into the room willingly and grabs the Gek as he is like the one sentient super mutant. Now after this, we end up getting flashbanged and grenaded because, believe it or not, the Enclave came all the way to Vault 87, waited for us to get the Gek, and ambushed us and kidnapped us so that they could get the Gek and activate Project Purity. Now, they eventually, well, they were interrogating us, but our interrogation got interrupted by President Eden, as President Eden wanted to meet with us personally, and Colonel Autumn didn't like this. But here we grabbed all of our stuff and got a story trophy pop.
Finding the Garden of Eden. I cannot believe that we got freaking robbed by the Enclave, though. That actually kind of PMO.
In our meeting with President Eden, he basically told us that he's an AI, and with this, we were able to convince him to kind of kill himself and blow up the bunker. He did want us to use modified FEV to kill all the mutants in DC, but obviously we weren't going to do this. And with him agreeing to kill himself, he did. He blew up the entirety of the Raven Rock bunker. Now, there is a missable bobblehead in here, so make sure you're grabbing that before it gets nuked to shit. And soon after this, we returned to the Brotherhood, where they announced that they will fully help us raid Project Purity now that we know that the Enclave plan to activate it right now. Now, before leaving, we meet the Pride of the Brotherhood of Steel, which is Liberty Prime. He is the robot that we will be using to fight against the Enclave in this last section, but we do get a trophy pop here for completing the American Dream quest, and here that trophy is popping.
The American Dream. I'm so excited for this last mission.
This actual battle was really fun in my opinion, as Liberty Prime, they mostly focus Liberty Prime, and he can't die. So, like, he literally just destroys all the barricades for you and kills so many enemies. But once we reach the Jefferson Memorial, he kind of powers down as he takes the power from all of these barricades for us so that we can actually get into the place. This mission is so easy when you use the laser gun we got from the Replicated Man. But I kill Colonel Autumn really swiftly before we come down to the final decision. We basically have to decide who will activate Project Purity, and for humans to do it, it's very lethal. But we have our boy Fox, and because I'm a Platinum Trophy YouTuber, we need to get this Platinum Trophy, so we can't really afford to die right now. So I sent Fox in to do it for us. He puts in the code after some struggling because he is a smart super mutant, but he still is a super mutant. And with this, he activates the machine, which still sends out a very powerful radiation blast. Now with this, the main story is finished, and the Lone Wanderer and Sentinel Lions are knocked unconscious. But we actually wake up 2 weeks later, but not before getting the trophy.
Take it back for completing the main story of Fallout 3.
As I said, we wake up 2 weeks later thanks to the Broken Steel DLC. Basically, the Brotherhood wants us to help them fully take down the Enclave, and we just have 3 more quests to do as an extension of the story for this DLC. I'm going to kind of speed through these missions because they are so easy. The first one, we take Liberty Prime to go steal some encrypted data. Unfortunately, Liberty Prime does kind of get destroyed here, which sets up things for a future Fallout game. But we do soon get the data from the Enclave base, which is needed for the first quest, as I said. And after turning it into the Brotherhood, we do get the trophy. Now, our next quest, we have to go get a Tesla coil. And here's that previously mentioned trophy popping. Death from above. For completing Death from above. On our way to get the Tesla coil, we actually finish a long started challenge, which was to hack 50 terminals. This isn't too difficult. You'll get it over time playing, but here's that trophy pop. Soon, I think, actually. I think it took quite a bit, but here it should be. Right as we grab here the Tesla coil, here's the trophy pop. Finally. Data miner for hacking 50 terminals. After snagging that Tesla coil, we turn into Paladin Tristan, where we then complete the quest. Once again, not very difficult quest, but just so boring. It's really just killing the Enclave over and over again. But shortly after here, we get the trophy pop. Shock value. I'm sorry for being in a loading screen while this pops, but that quest was honestly so freaking boring, so this one hopefully will be better. It was now time for the final quest in the Broken Steel DLC. Still very boring. Basically, we have to go to Adams Air Force Base by fighting through the presidential metro tunnels. This mission was just so laggy once you make it to Adams Air Force Base. Like, this isn't slowed down. This is just genuine footage from my gameplay because of how many enemies there is. It's just so laggy. And after fighting through the forces, we leave on a vertibird before the whole base is airstriked and the Enclave is finally defeated in Washington, D.C. This is like the latest we know of the Enclave, so we don't actually know how many of them remain after this canonically. But with this, our work with the Brotherhood is officially over, and they kind of glaze us a bit. And this is our final DLC completion, so we are in the very last stage of the Platinum, and here is that trophy pop. Who dares win? Or who dares wins for completing all of Broken Steel. So this is like all the main quests we have. We just have the Nuka-Cola challenge, which is our last side quest, and then we have like, I think we have quite a bit of, yeah, we have 2/3 of the Nuka-Cola quantum we need. So now it's just the cleanup phase of the Platinum. Now we're on to the final stage of the Platinum, which is just to clean up things. We only have one more side quest trophy, but it's kind of a collectible trophy. This next trophy we go for is called Weaponsmith, where we need to make one of each weapon. You could take a perk after level 20. I think it's like level 23 or 24. That gives you all the recipes for all the weapons, which is what I used. And then I used a paper guide to get all of the ingredients. And after crafting all the weapons, we get the trophy pop. Yes, Weaponsmith for crafting all the custom weapons in the game. Honestly, this didn't take too long. I just wrote all the ingredients I needed down on a sheet of paper and crossed them off as I got them. Most of them you can get from vendors in Megaton and Rivet City, but other places I went to, I found like almost all of them in Super Duper Mart. And then if you need the paint gun, I went to the Bethesda ruins. So yeah, there's that trophy. I did get 2 bobbleheads, as I'm sure I'll mention here. In here, and now I'm gonna go for the bobbleheads. And just like I said, it's bobblehead time. These took me honestly quite a bit of time, more than I'd like to admit, but we got the last bobblehead pretty swiftly. And with this, all of our skills are pretty much maxed out, as using that method I mentioned earlier, we got way farther. And here's that trophy pop. Vault-Tec CEO for grabbing all of the bobbleheads in the game. This was like the kind of collectibles of this game. I'm glad to finally have them done, and in a minute I'll show what they all look like in my Megaton like stand in my room. As I said, here's a collection of all the cool bobbleheads in the Megaton player home. Now, for this trophy, we had to finish killing all those behemoths. These were located various spots around DC and the kind of countryside. Not too difficult. I just recommend using a guide to find it. And the last one I went for was in the Capitol building. I didn't go for this one for any specific reasons like last, but as I did with all the other ones, I just ended up spamming him with mini nukes until he died, which happens right there. This location has tons of talent companies, so just come prepared, but here's the trophy.
The bigger they are for killing all 5 behemoths around the map, we are so close to the platinum, and I'm so freaking excited.
Next, I went for that final side quest, being the Nuka-Cola challenge. All we had to do was collect 30 Nuka-Cola Quantum and turn it into Sierra Petrovita. I didn't even start this quest until I was ready to complete it, but here was just me grabbing some Nuka-Cola Quantum, as this was really all you had to do for the quest. But after getting all 30, I headed to Sierra Petrovita and turned them all in for the trophy pop.
The Nuka-Cola challenge, grabbing these Nuka-Cola Quantums took me like the entire game. I do highly recommend, I'll find the perk over here. I do highly recommend grabbing, it's Q something, so I missed it. Quantum Chemist, because then every 10 Nuka-Colas you get turn into a Quantum. But yes, that is all of the quest trophies in the game completed.
And after that, it was time to get the last trophy as well as the platinum, so I decided to reverse pickpocket the war criminal Grandma Sparkle. All you have to do for this is just crouch down, pickpocket, and put a grenade in the person's pocket. They will soon die, and then after that, the trophy will pop. So Editing Septa here is signing off, so I'd like to thank you for watching and make sure to subscribe. This video took a lot of effort, so it'd mean the world to me, but here's the trophy spot.
Psychotic prankster for... Yes, the platinum! Oh my god, I didn't even have enough time to describe that final trophy because the platinum popped so fast. But basically, the trophy is for putting a live grenade in someone's pocket. The platinum's finally over. It's taken me almost 2 weeks to get the platinum at 100%. I highly recommend, if you guys have a PS3 and want to platinum this game, to get the DLCs, because like this armor has helped me so much, and the DLCs just make such a good experience. But I would like to thank you all for watching. This is my first video in my Fallout series, so as I already mentioned, if this video or my next Fallout video get like, I haven't decided yet, either 5 or 10 likes, then I'm going to be platinuming Fallout 4 as well. But essentially this challenge, it's still in its early drafts as I'm saying it right now. The challenge will be to platinum 2 or 3 Fallout games. 2 or 3 Fallout games before I hit 550 subscribers, or else I have to do a punishment. I don't know what my punishment is yet, but we're going to be attempting this. So yes, I'd like to thank you all for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.